Dear parents, if your child is a Hong Kong resident studying in a primary school participating in the Secondary School Places Allocation SSPA system and has never been allocated a Secondary 1 S1 place, he or she is eligible to be allocated a subsidized S1 place through the SSPA system, administered by the Education Bureau, EDB.
The SSPA system is divided into two stages: discretionary places and central allocation. In general, all participating secondary schools may reserve 30% of their S1 places as discretionary places. After the deduction of discretionary places and repeater places, the remaining places in a secondary school are used for central allocation. Of the places for central allocation, 10% are for allocation unrestricted by school nets, and the remaining 90% are for allocation based upon school net.
How many secondary schools may parents apply to for their child at the discretionary places stage?
Parents may apply to not more than 2 participating secondary schools for their child. Application is not subject to restriction on districts. However, parents must note that if they apply to more than 2 participating secondary schools, the chance of their child acquiring a discretionary place will be forfeited. How should parents choose a suitable secondary school for their child?
Parents should consider all aspects of the school. For example, its educational philosophy, culture, class structure, and development and operation. Parents should also consider their child's ability, inclinations, and interests, so as to make a suitable school choice.
Secondary schools may decide on their own admission criteria and weightings. However, the admission criteria and weightings adopted by the school must be fair, just, open and educationally sound, and must be made public prior to admission. Schools may conduct interviews, but no written tests are allowed. For choice of schools at the discretionary places stage, parents may refer to the secondary school profiles distributed by the Committee on Homeschool Cooperation in early December. They may also visit the school's website to have a better understanding of the school.
In early December, parents will also receive through their child's primary school the following documents issued by EDB. To prepare the application for discretionary places, 2 copies of the application form for S1 discretionary place, application form, which are used for making applications to participating secondary schools. Notes for parents on application for Secondary 1 discretionary places, and Primary 6 student record form. Several copies of the handbook for application for Secondary 1 discretionary places will also be distributed to each primary school by EDB to facilitate the parents to check the lists of participating secondary schools in each district. Parents may also visit EDB's homepage or use the fax service of EDB's 24-hour automatic telephone inquiry system on 2891-0088 to obtain the lists. After receiving the copies of the application form for S1 discretionary place and Primary 6 student record form, what should parents do?
Parents should check the pre-printed student particulars on the documents, including the name of the student, sex, and date of birth, against those on their child's identity card, or if they have not yet applied for one, their birth certificate, to ensure that the pre-printed particulars are the same as those on their child's identity document. In case of discrepancies, parents should notify their child's primary school immediately to make the amendments, which should be endorsed by stamped CHOP of the primary school. After parents have chosen a participating secondary school, they may submit the application form together with the documents required to the secondary school directly between the 2nd and 17th of January 2018. What do parents need to note when submitting the application forms?
The application forms are specially designed for students' use in applying to participating secondary schools for a discretionary place. Each application form is divided into 4 parts. The first part in blue is the EDB's copy. The second part in green is the school's copy. The third and fourth parts are the parent's copy and are in red. The fourth part contains the order of school preference.
Order of School Preference 1 stands for the student's first choice. Order of School Preference 2 stands for the student's second choice. Students' particulars are pre-printed on the application forms. Parents are only required to write according to their order of preference the name of the secondary school they wish to apply to in each of the 4 parts of the application form. Before submitting the application form, parents should tear off the part containing the order of school preference for retention, so that their preference is not known to the school.
Parents should submit the application form with the remaining 3 parts intact to the preferred school directly. They should also produce the original of the student's identity document for verification by the school. The personal particulars shown on the identity document must be the same as the pre-printed personal particulars on the application form. After verifying and confirming that the student information is correct, the school will enter the school name and school code and stamp the school CHOP in the spaces provided in each part of the application form. Applicants will then be given the parent's copy as acknowledgement.
Parents should note that once submitted, the application form cannot be retrieved or cancelled, and no change can be made to the order of school preference. After the application deadline, schools will submit the EDB's copy of the application forms to the Bureau for data entry and matching.
Based on the unique application number each application form carries, EDB will ascertain the first and second choices of each student. The computer will match students' preferences against schools' successful and reserve lists. In deciding the secondary school that the student would be allocated to, for the allocation mechanism of discretionary places, please refer to the illustrations in Part 2 of this DVD.
Apart from applying to not more than 2 participating secondary schools, can students apply to Jockey Club TE College at the same time?
Yes, but parents should note that if their children are successful in their application to Jockey Club TE College, they will not be allocated a discretionary place or a place in central allocation under the SSPA system. If they are unsuccessful in their application, they can still go through the SSPA system for allocation of an S1 place.
Can students also apply to Direct Subsidy Scheme secondary schools not participating in SSPA, non-participating DSS secondary schools at the same time?
Yes, as there is no limit to the number of non-participating DSS secondary schools that a student may apply to, he or she may be accepted by several non-participating DSS secondary schools. However, provided the parent has surrendered the signed undertaking and the original of the Primary 6 student record form to one of the schools making the offer, this will serve as a confirmation of the acceptance of the S1 place offered by the non-participating DSS secondary school and the agreement to give up any other subsidized S1 places, including the S1 places of participating secondary schools and Jockey Club TE College.
The school will notify EDB of the parent's decision by mid-April. As regards the list of non-participating DSS secondary schools, parents may approach their children's primary schools. They may also visit EDB's homepage or use the fax service of EDB's 24-hour automatic telephone inquiry system on 2891 0088 to obtain the lists.
When will parents know the results of discretionary places?
The results of discretionary places of all secondary schools, including participating secondary schools and Jockey Club TE College, will be released together with the results of central allocation on the 10th of July 2018. Parents need not make inquiries to the schools they have applied to before the announcement of the results.
Central allocation is based on a student's allocation band, parental choice of schools, and random number. What are the points to note when parents complete the choice of schools form for their child?
Parents will receive the Secondary 1 Choice of Schools form, choice form, and related documents for central allocation through their child's primary school in mid-April. Regardless of whether parents have applied for their child a discretionary place in a participating secondary school and/or Jockey Club TE College, or S1 places of non-participating DSS secondary schools, they should return the completed choice form to EDB through their child's primary school in early May. For students admitted by non-participating DSS secondary schools and who have accepted the offer with the signed undertakings and the originals of their Primary 6 student record forms surrendered to the schools, or for students admitted by other schools, for example international schools or private schools, and decided not to participate in CA, their parents are also required to sign on the choice form and cross out the part of school choices to indicate the intention of not participating in CA, and return the choice form to EDB through the primary schools for processing.
The Secondary 1 Choice of Schools form is divided into Part A and Part B. Part A is for unrestricted school choices. When completing Part A, parents should refer to the Handbook for Unrestricted School Choices, which provides lists of all participating secondary schools in the territory. Parents may also refer to the handbook available at their child's primary school. They may also visit EDB's homepage or use the fax service of EDB's 24-hour automatic telephone inquiry system on 2891-0088 to obtain the lists.
When filling in the school choices in Part A, parents should refer to the column School Code in the Handbook for Unrestricted School Choices and fill in the codes of the schools in order of preference. Parents may choose 1 to 3 secondary schools from any school net.
Part B is for restricted school choices based on students' nets. In line with the administrative districts, the whole territory is divided into 18 school nets. The school net to which a student belongs is determined by the location of his or her primary school, but not the district where he or she lives. When completing Part B, parents should refer to the secondary school list of the net their child belongs to.
The secondary school list will be distributed to the parents with the choice form and the notes for parents on central allocation. The secondary school list of each school net will also be uploaded to EDB's homepage on the day of distribution for public access. The secondary school list contains all the schools located in the district and schools in other districts providing school places for the net.
Parents should note that the number of secondary schools and school places provided from other districts may vary from year to year according to the demand and supply situation. For example, the number of places provided by individual schools may increase or decrease across years, or individual schools or schools of a certain district may not provide places to a school net which they have served previously.
When filling in the school choices in Part B, parents should refer to the school code in the secondary school list and place the schools in order of preference in the choice form. Parents should fill in as many as 30 choices selected from the school net. Can parents repeat the same school choice?
Parents may choose schools from any school net and place them in Part A. They may also repeat the same school choice in both Part A and Part B, if it is in their child's school net. However, parents should not make repeated choices within the same part, because the choices of the same school code within the same part will be regarded as one choice and processed by the computer once only. Hence, the repeated choice will not increase the chance of being allocated to the school. Can students apply for cross-net allocation?
If application for cross-net allocation is necessary, parents may apply to EDB through the primary school before early March. A successful applicant will participate in Part B of central allocation in the new school net for which he or she is approved. If the cross-net application is not approved, the student will participate in Part B of central allocation based on his or her original school net.
Parents may contact the primary school of their child for inquiries concerning the application. Parents should note that once the application for cross-net allocation is approved, it is irrevocable. What is the basis for determining the allocation band of a student?
Students' standardized internal assessment results at the end of Primary 5 and both in mid-year and at the end of Primary 6 will be used for the calculation of allocation bands and other education-related purposes. As different schools may have different curricula and the standard of assessment may vary among schools, a scaling mechanism has to be used to scale the internal assessment results of all participating schools, so that their scaled marks can be compared.
The Pre-Secondary 1 Hong Kong Attainment Test, or in short Pre-S1 HKAT, is used as a scaling tool for the SSPA system in the 2016-2018 cycle. The average of the sampled result of the Pre-S1 HKAT 2014 and 2016 will be used by the EDB to scale the internal assessment results of students proceeding to S1. When processing the unrestricted school choices in Part A, the computer will put the scaled marks of all students in the territory into an order of merit. Students will be equally divided into 3 territory bands, each consisting of 1/3 of the total number of participating primary students in the territory.
When processing the restricted school choices in Part B, the computer will put the scaled marks of all students within the same net into an order of merit. Students will be equally divided into 3 net bands, each consisting of 1/3 of the total number of participating primary students in the school net.
The purpose of banding is just to decide the order of allocation of students, and is not to drop an absolute standard for assessing students' performance. For the division of allocation bands, please refer to the illustrations in Part 2 of this DVD. What is the computerized procedure for central allocation?
The computer will assign each student a random number. The random number is used to determine the order of allocation of students for a school place within the same allocation band. If the demand for school places of a certain secondary school exceeds the supply, students possessing a smaller random number within the same allocation band will be allocated a place first. The random number has no connection with the student reference number or the student's personal data. The random numbers and allocation bands of individual students will not be retained after the allocation procedure is completed. In the process of school places allocation, the computer will process the unrestricted school choices of all students in Part A first, to be followed by the restricted school choices in Part B. When processing the school choices in Part A, the computer will first allocate school places to students in Territory Band 1. After processing the choices of all the students in Territory Band 1, the computer will then process the school choices of students in Territory Band 2. And finally those of Territory Band 3 by following the same procedure. If students have been successfully allocated a place in Part A, they will not be allocated school places in Part B. Only students who have not been allocated school places in Part A will be allocated school places in Part B.
Allocation of school places in Part B is done by SchoolNet. The computer will first allocate school places to students in Net Band 1. For students who are not allocated school places after all their school choices have been exhausted, the computer will allocate them places from the remaining places in the net.
After all the students in Net Band 1 have been allocated school places, the computer will follow the same procedure to process the choices of students in Net Band 2 and finally those of Net Band 3 students. For the computerized procedure in central allocation, parents may refer to the illustrations in Part 2 of this DVD.
What are the S1 admission arrangements for students studying in feeder and nominated primary schools at the central allocation stage?
In general, after deduction of the repeater and discretionary places, a feeder secondary school has to reserve 85% of the remaining places for its feeder primary schools, and a nominated secondary school 25% of the remaining places for its nominated primary schools.
If your child is studying in a feeder or nominated primary school and is in Net Band 1 or 2, and makes the feeder or nominated secondary school as the first choice in Part B, the restricted school choices, he or she is eligible for allocation to the reserve place.